Hello, students. Welcome, students of course. Um, Research in Education for Change. Week 4. We are already in week 4. Before I'm talking about this week readings and discussion assignment, a few comments. I hope you had a chance to look at my email in which I give good tips and recommendations about writing posts and responses. Please take very close look at this. Even if you're not one of those that I specifically emailed and gave specific feedback. I encourage you to read my responses, my own responses to your posts, and I encourage you to address them. If I'm asking their questions, I will be more than happy to read your responses to those questions and keep discussion with you. I also encourage you to read other people post and what I respond to them. It will give you a very good it will give you very good ideas about what we are learning, and give you good ideas about research types and an example of research scenarios and other ideas. So please take a look at what's going on in the discussions. This week we are diving more in depth into evaluating quantitative research after last week kind of touching here and there. We dedicate this whole week for this. I'd like to say right from the beginning. I know that it might be in quantitative research confusing, and numbers and a lot of terms that you might don't know, and might be scary to read and evaluate and critique quantitative paper. So I'm more than happy if you would like to talk to me one on one and discuss issues that you're concerned about in quantitative research. Just email me. You are welcome to contact me, and we can talk. I will give in a few minutes some explanation about some of the main terms that I think that you should know, but this is not supposed to be what I'm going to give here, a crash course in statistics, okay? Just to mention some very general terms and their meanings. Your readings this week, you have chapter from Questwell, chapter number 8, right? And you have also another text by Kolan et al. From 2007, Step-by-Step Guide to Critiquing Research, and this part about quantitative. And then you have also another piece that you need to read, one of two, and then I will get to this later when I will talk about the discussion assignment. So, Questel, some comments. Although it's more about how to write research report, you are reading it, at least in this point, in order to understand how to read and understand quantitative research report, to know how to identify strengths and weaknesses of a quantitative study, which will which is your assignment this week. When you are reading Questwell and also the other piece, Coordinate L, the step by step, remember the quantitative part that you read in the environmental education paper in week 3. Maybe it will help you. In Questwell focuses on two methods: the survey and the experiment. Survey, you might remember that you took survey in the beginning of our course. If indeed you've done it, if not, you are still welcome to do that. And experiment was in the environmental education paper, if you remember. Some were allowed to use technology and some not. Some statistics terms that are mentioned in Questwell, and I want to go very, very quick. Population and sample. So population is the group of all the people that the result of the study might be relevant to, and sample is only those that are taking part in the study, right? And then the idea is to generalize from the sample to the population. Regression it's a process for, in general, estimating the relationship between variables. In main effect, there is main effect and interactive effect. Main effect is the direct effect of the independent variable on the dependent, while in interactive effect is the effect of the independent on the dependent when there is another variable that is involved. There is R squared there, so don't be panic about this kind of stuff. I would like to say that a lot of the technical stuff in the statistics papers, studies that you need to analyze, you don't need to know the exact stuff in order to understand the meaning of the results of the studies. Okay, I encourage you to understand everything, but you need to understand that you don't need really to understand everything that's going on there in order to understand the results of the and the meaning of the results of the studies. So R square sometimes also is called the coefficient of determination. How much one variable explains variation of another variable. It shows percentage variation when one variable explains how much one explains another. Higher the better in this case. Factor analysis. Factor analysis, how values of observed data are expressed by number of factors, and this statistical process done in order to determine which factors are the most important in order to explain what's going on. There is the notion of holding variable constant. So to consider variables that we don't want to them to interfere in assessing relation between dependent and independent variables, we hold in those unwanted independent variables, we hold them constant. So age and gender, for example, and other demographic variables that we don't want them to interfere in our analysis, we hold them constant. And another term, covariance, it's another name for control variables. Those are variables that we must hold constant when we want to check relationship between dependent and independent variables. And lastly, validity and reliability. Validity is described as the ability of an instrument to measure what is supposed to measure, and reliability is the instrument's ability to consistently and accurately measure the concept under study. Question talks about power analysis. I will share with you in on D2L specific website that I found if you want to practice calculation of power analysis or automatic calculation of power analysis in order to find a required sample size. Moving on to Coglan et al. 2007. So this text it addressed to nurses, but it also can be used by us. It gives good ideas how to tackle quantitative paper in more simple terms than Questwell, of course. Some of the steps there in Coglan will remind you what you've read in Locke. Pay attention that when Coglan mentioned quasi experiment is different from the definition that the Questwell uses and the way that we will use. So quasi experiment is a form of experimental research in which individuals are not randomly assigned to groups. Okay, and that's how we'll take it. Coglan says otherwise. And when Coglan talk about non-experimental is what Questwell talks about pre-experimental. Okay, so for the discussion, there is an extra paper that you need to read. You will see that on the website there are two papers, Kringes et al. From 2015 and Freiberg et al. From 2013. You need to read only one of them. Only one of them was assigned to each of you, so there are two groups, and you need to find your specific group and to read only the certain paper. One of them talks about advancing social justice in specific courses, and another one talk about Aboriginal youth. I try to assign those of you who express interest in First Nations to the Freiberg paper. If you find yourself in a paper that you are less interested, so I'm sorry, you need to keep working in the assigned group. In the discussion, you need to identify and explain strengths and weaknesses of your assigned paper, tips how to understand the papers in general. Pay attention that there might not be titles for each of the parts. Okay, you will need to identify them. For example, theoretical framework, there might be a case that there is no titled theoretical framework. Maybe it's part of the literature review. And when you are reading your study, ask yourself which kind of study is it? Is it experiment or not? If so, which kind? If not, so which kind of study is it? And two tips about understanding the statistics there in the papers. Try to match between the text and tables, and especially when they're talking about significance, try to find a specific item in the table that correspond to the specific text, and also use the figures and try to match between the text and what's going on in the figures. Again, if you want to talk with me one-on-one about quantitative research, about specific terms, about how to understand the tables and other aspects of the papers, you are welcomed. Better to do that as soon as possible during the week. So I hope you will enjoy your reading this week about quantitative studies and enjoy your work. And I will see you on the in the discussions. Bye bye.